Zenigata meets with Professor Hunter, who's set up in an aircraft at Honolulu. The interior is maze-like in nature, and Zenigata has to rely on Hunter to guide him. Hunter boasts that his safe is impenetrable due to only his voice being able to open the door, as well as to disable an electrical current. Angered at spotting Heiji Zenigata's coin collection, Zenigata decides to swipe one for himself. Lupin and Jigen, chilling out at a beach house, are informed of Zenigata's arrival. They watch as he easily takes care of Goemon, and Jigen doesn't fare much better. Lupin hides out and sets off some traps to hold Zenigata back, and comes out to berate the others for being caught. Zenigata takes this chance to sneak up on Lupin, but then breaks down after doing so. He explains to Lupin that he wants to join them after seeing the coins of his ancestor in Hunter's collection. Fujiko, who avoided the initial attack, is suspicious, but he gives the gang some diagrams of Hunter's base. The base is also run by a computer that has all of Lupin's information loaded onto it, making this another episode of Lupin vs Technology. Either way, only Lupin is up for the challenge as he and Zenigata ready themselves. Disguises are useless as the computer knows Lupin's weight signature, so they ditch them once on board, though Hunter is obviously aware of Lupin's presence. Lupin realises that the computer changes the maze around when he finds a route, so he tells Zenigata to carry him through as the computer doesn't have any info on him. Thanks to this, they arrive at the safe. It proves tough to break through, and even when they do, it ends up self-repairing instantly anyway. Lupin concedes, and Zenigata reveals that the reason he wanted Lupin's help was to return the coin he stole, as it was purely an impulse thing. Hearing this, Lupin decides not to give up. Hunter arrives at the safe and finds Lupin's discarded gear. Feeling triumphant, he heads back and sees Lupin at his chessboard. Lupin tells him that technology can be trumped by humans due to humans having emotion, showing him the coin. Hunter rushes to the safe and opens it to confirm the coins from his collection, allowing Lupin inside as he points out that he opened the safe for him. The gang reveal themselves as Hunter's flight crew, deciding to help steal Hunter's collection as a buyer has offered $100 grand for it. Back on the side of the law, Zenigata tries to stop the gang, but they easily deflect him. Lupin points out that he's not giving his all like he did with returning the coin as the gang ride off. Got another strong episode here. I like how accepting the gang are of Zenigata joining them, even if they don't all participate in the heist itself. Even Fujiko, who doesn't believe it's Zenigata at first, doesn't really object to him joining them. We also get a bit of a confirmation that Zenigata holds back when it comes to arresting Lupin. Way back in Series 1 Episode 4 he certainly managed it, but then freaked out as to why Lupin wasn't trying to escape, pretty much expecting it like he wants the chase to continue. This episode helps cement that he could catch Lupin if he just put his all into it. Lupin and Jigen are in Moscow watching a production of Swan Lake. Or, more accurately, they have their sights set on the prima ballerina's diamond tiara, the droplet of Aurora. Jigen hits the diamond with a magnetic device and Lupin airlifts it as the curtain falls. The pair escape across the roof, but the guards are alerted. Lupin jumps across, but Jigen is shot as he covers for him. He tells Lupin to go ahead and he'll catch up, blacking out as he runs toward the sound of a woman's voice. He wakes up in the care of the prima ballerina, who introduces herself as Monica. Monica smuggles Jigen to safety by hiding him in a clothing box as they pass a checkpoint. At her home, she tells Jigen she wants his help crossing the border, presenting him with fake passports claiming they're husband and wife. Meanwhile, despite Fujiko enjoying the diamond, Lupin's realise it's fake. On top of that, Goemon reports that Jigen was never caught. Zenigata gives the Russian police a report on the gang, but is expelled as Interpol has no jurisdiction in the Soviet Union. The chief does make use of his info to put a search out for Jigen and Monica, however. Speaking of Jigen and Monica, they decide to escape by train. They're approached for passport checks as they reach the border, but Jigen realises the staff are onto them. He helps Monica escape to the roof and they jump for the nearest overpass. Monica helps Jigen up, whose shoulder is still not fully healed, and he senses a moment between the two of them. The chief relays to a disguised Fujiko their likely route, and she in turn relays it to Lupin. Jigen and Monica meanwhile rest at a hut. Monica tells him she wants to go to America with all the freedom that entails, though Jigen points out that said freedom has an ugly side to it. They reach the Austrian border and Jigen smiles to himself, wondering what Lupin would think of this situation. They decide to charge it, but the bridge is raised. Jigen uses the power of momentum to fling Monica and her sidecar across the raised bridge, though this leaves him at the mercy of the border patrol. Jigen faces death by firing squad, but this is interrupted by an explosion and avalanche. Lupin pulls Jigen to safety and they cross the border via balloon. Jigen later meets Monica on a Ferris wheel. She holds him at gunpoint, revealing she used him to smuggle the droplet of Aurora by hiding it in his bandages. Jigen indicates Lupin in the car above them, but gives her the diamond anyway. She saved him twice and he only did it once, so he considers this an even break. Lupin's annoyed, having planned to give the diamond to Fujiko, but Jigen shrugs it off, admitting he envies Lupin to a degree before destroying the fake passport. This is one that stuck out for me when I first watched it, and seeing it again for these reviews I'm reminded why. We've seen a similar episode to this with episode 25, but this one feels much more of a study into Jigen's mindset. One standout scene for this is where we see Monica idealising American life and Jigen's cynical response to her dreams, which she partly confirms as the reason she takes the diamond back in the end. The use of Swan Lake in the soundtrack also helps this episode stand apart from others, with even a Yuji Ono-esque composition thrown in at one point. If there's one complaint I had, it's that not a lot happens between escaping the train and reaching the Austrian border, but we do admittedly get that scene of Jigen and Monica's viewpoints there. Either way, definitely an episode to watch. We open on Zenigata chasing Lupin down and using a glue trap to grind his car to a halt. Lupin uses a smaller car built into it to escape, leaving Zenigata in his own glue as a woman watches with a small group. Heading home, Lupin runs into a giant Fujiko. She carries him off and he wakes up in a castle bedroom. A butler informs him that he's to meet with Madame X. Lupin asks her for answers, suspecting some kind of trick. Madame X laughs and simply tells him the world works in mysterious ways as she shows him one of her tricks. She also shows herself to be the star of her gender-flipped house of wax, as she has a collection of celebrities turned into wax figures. Lucky for Lupin, she's chosen his gang for her collection. Lupin finds Fujiko in a tube, where Madame X's scientist explains that he created a formula to preserve people as sculptures. Lupin shoots at Madame X, but they phase through her. In response, she activates Mars, a giant statue. Lupin escapes through a door with some help from Mars smashing the wall behind it, but he's left in a psychedelic mess. The cave returns to relatively normal, but Mars catches up and grabs Lupin, causing him to lose consciousness. Meanwhile, Jigen and Goemon note that Lupin's been missing for 2 days. A helicopter flies by and drops a ball that starts ticking. After a game of hot potato, it reveals a balloon with a message telling them to head to a cemetery. They head there with Zenigata following, and are swallowed by the ground as the boy that was with Madame X laughs. They wake up in a cell with Lupin, who's all but given up on escaping. Zenigata reaches for the door, but ends up sinking through the floor again. Goemon suspects that Madame X is using telepathy, and Jigen shoots down the door to escape. The gang navigate the tunnels, only to run into a flood. Racing back, they end up in Madame X's presence. Goemon then realises that it's not Madame X who possesses the powers. She decides Zenigata will be her first subject, trapping him and covering him in wax. Lupin warns Jigen that bullets won't work on her, so they shift to attacking the lab's machinery. In response, Madame X traps Lupin and Goemon, though the latter keeps his cool. As Lupin is coated in wax himself, Goemon breaks free and targets a mirror, having spotted a figure inside it. The machinery and castle fall to pieces. The gang make an escape, but Madame X remains behind with her sculptures. As they look over the remains of the castle, Goemon explains that the boy was the one with the psychic powers and was being used by Madame X. They then cut Zenigata free, well, partially free of the wax, and head off. I guess one way to follow an episode as strong as the last one is to just go all out on the weirdness. I feel the boy being behind it all would have a bit more impact if he'd been a bit more prominent than he was though. Still, I like that it was someone besides Lupin, Goemon in this case, who managed to save the day in the end. Some good art direction and shot composition in this episode too. Zenigata has actually managed to capture Lupin and Jigen. Because this would be a 30-second episode otherwise, this is short-lived as they stop, overhearing pungy music. The police find a group of snake charmers that then fire a beam that compels the police to kill themselves. They're not here to rescue Lupin and Jigen though, as they airlift them away. Zenigata, who survived because he aimed for his hat rather than his head in his own bumbling way, is told that this is likely the work of the Basilar army. Or is it Basara? I'll go with Basala. Anyway, Lupin and Jigen are brought before its leader, Basala Lavana, who wants to know where they stashed 20,000 diamonds they recently stole. Lupin refuses to tell, and escapes using a knife hidden in his shoe. He and Jigen hold up Basala, but Basala just opens a trapdoor beneath them. He demonstrates his suicide beam on an elephant to display its power and then fills the room with it, threatening to close the gap if Lupin doesn't tell. As they try not to fall in the beam, Lupin wonders how Basala even knows about the heist, with Jigen suspecting Fujiko having something to do with it. Lupin shrugs this theory off and tries and fails to contact Goemon, who's in Calcutta in a state of deep meditation. Reaching their limit, they fall just as the power's cut, saved by Fujiko. Turns out Basala's base of operations is under the Taj Mahal. Fujiko managed to intercept Lupin's call to Goemon and follow the signal. Basala gives chase and the gang hide in a field of cows. Basala orders a slaughter to find the gang, but his followers are reluctant due to cows being sacred. Lupin steals a jeep in the confusion and heads to the desert. Fujiko uses her charm to get Lupin to tell her that the diamonds are somewhere in Calcutta. Jigen interrupts before Lupin gives specifics and they fall into a sandpit while fighting. Basala catches up, revealing that he was indeed working with Fujiko, but she lies and tells him the diamonds are in Bombay. She drives off in Calcutta's direction, unaware of a rope attached to the jeep, pulling Lupin and Jigen to safety, and Jigen more than a little annoyed at Lupin. Basala spots Fujiko heading for Calcutta and follows via balloon. While waiting for the Ganges bathing to clear the streets, he fires the beam at Fujiko. She drives toward a cliff, while Basala's follower tear up the town for diamonds. Basala saves her as she drives off and Lupin catches up to her only to watch her drink potassium cyanide. He's infected by an explosion as Basala informs him that was a decoy. He tries to resist the urge to shoot himself and is saved by Jigen. He then tries to jump off a cliff with Jigen again saving him at the last second. A watching Basala is informed that the diamonds have seemingly been located under a still meditating Goemon. Due to said meditating, Basala isn't able to move Goemon, nor does the beam work. Meanwhile, Lupin struggling ends up breaking the branch they're held by and they land on a boat piloted by Zenigata, who gets weirded out by Lupin trying to kill himself. Lupin then bites Zenigata and he's infected again. As Goemon wakes up, he deflects the beam back at Basala's follower and escapes. The chest is full of cow dung rather than diamonds and Basala dumps it. Goemon meets with Jigen, who's trying to stop Lupin killing himself still, and decides on an ancient remedy. Or, feeding Lupin cow dung. Gross, but it works. Zenigata wakes up having shot his hat again, and Lupin takes out Basala using his trademark makeshift bow complete with fire projectile. Later, at a port, Fujiko complains she never found the diamonds. The gang smile to themselves, knowing that they fed them to the cows, which are now en route to Japan. Back to business in this episode in a few ways. Fujiko's getting a part to play after being sidelined for the last few episodes, back to her usual greedy self. We also have a heist as a focus, or rather a battle between thieves, with the rival thieves having weird gimmicks, for the object of a heist anyway. Jigen's a standout here too, for being the one to save the day and for his increasing frustration at Lupin excusing Fujiko's behaviour being a source of amusement. Next time, a village with a dark secret, another Christmas special, and the Zantetsuken's one weakness brings us to episode 64. Until then,